it's Guido coming at you with a Tactics Talk. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support as always. Enjoy the video. Today we have Brynar, who I believe is a forum regular, as I recall, sent me this in. The LHMTV on Himmel's Sand Airfield Desert Dorf. Airfield, not really the greatest scouting map, although a scout can do some pretty good work, as Brynar is about to show us. One of the things I really like about doing this is, in terms of the whole gameplay thing and learning the game, is I will learn places and ways to do things that are very different from the way I do it, and I can add those to my kit bag. So he's in his LHMTV, all tier 8, spawned into the west side, and he sent me a note and said he likes this thing and believes it's very underrated. I happen to agree. I've said that multiple times. The LHMTV is a fun little light tank, quite the little sniper assassin. I kind of wish the Manicore was a little more like it. Look at it, it just jumps off that thing. In terms of the gun being quite good at tier, the Manicore gun is okay, but it's a little derpier potentially than this thing. And look at this just jumps right up here and snaps the old T-34 and grabs himself 254 hit points right off. A little bit dangerous there. You're kind of daring somebody to take a shot after you get spotted. So I don't think I would have made that second poke, but you get away with it. We have a Bulldog on the opposing side and an LT-432, and he never really tackles or tangles with the 432, but he does beat up the poor Bulldog a little bit. So he's come up to this middle spot, and this is a pretty good light tank spot because you can do things like harass people who are other light tanks who are trying to get spotting, maybe reach back and see the second line snipers and potentially get some spotting for their artillery and things like that. A lot of times you'll see guys go to the north, kind of where the Scorpion is. Comes up here and the Shrek is sort of out in the open getting lit there. Although he's behind a bush. I don't know who he's being lit by, to be honest. Might be the other guys to the south. It could have been Brynar himself. He's already up to 400 and 483 spotting. The thing about a scout and a scout player is this. When you play a scout, almost every time there's going to be an opposing scout on the other team. So in terms of, well, you could have played something you can do more damage with, it doesn't really apply because the scouts are in the game. So you play a scout, 99.9% of the time there's going to be a scout or two on the other team, depending on how many your team has. So that new change to Matchmaker is pretty nice. That being said, if you can play your scout well and drop a lot of damage, which is what Brynar is about to do right here, you have created a huge advantage for your team because most light tank players can't do that, right? Dropping as much damage as he's about to do. And this is not a huge spotting game. This is a huge damage game for Brynar. And that goes back to my discussion just a second ago about liking this tank in terms of its sniper capabilities. It does have a relatively long reload. You can tell in terms of trying to fight other light tanks and out DPMing them, that's going to be a struggle for the LHMTV. But if you can do what he's doing, take these sniperino shots, use your vision to kind of help the team out as you go, you're going to be doing some good work. All right. That being said, let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. I wanted to mention this because he's done it several times. Notice he is backing up. This is a rear-mounted turret, so he is actually going backwards to back up, take shots, and then go forward. The nice thing about that is when you back up, you're slower. So when you get your shot, you go forward, you get down into cover much faster. The trick there, though, is most people are used to obviously poking out and then backing up. And if you kind of forget what you're doing right here, you take your shot and you hit reverse, you've then raged back into or up the hill and put yourself in even more danger. So if you're going to do this, be very careful about doing it. I wanted to mention that for any of you new guys. It's a great tactic and technique. It also helps with the rear-mounted turret, right? So it just brings that part of the tank up and over to get your shots. So it is effective and it's a good idea, but you can really get your brain crossed. And I have done it myself where I took a shot, kind of that muscle memory, hit reverse to get into cover, and I'm actually reversing out of cover. Okay? So any of those reverse side scraping, reverse move kind of thing like this, be very careful with it. I think also you spent a little more time than I would have with the Shrek right here. You kind of tended to do this, and we'll talk about it on your next engagement here. Kind of come up for air and look around and see what's going on. You might have noticed the Tiger 2 right there moving up, and you will notice him, and you probably are cross-checking the mini-map as well, but I sort of like the actual vision of what the heck's going on to take a look. So we're really sort of staring here where this Shrek is, and the Shrek's not in that bush. He dies, so there you go. All right, that's where you noticed him, and you may have noticed him earlier on the mini-map. This is another spot. So that whole center thing, I don't use it very much. I like it. What he did here, and I didn't mention it, was help take out the Bulldog, and the 432 has died elsewhere. So now his team has a nice little scouting advantage in terms of the sneaky little vision guy. And what can he do to help the team? All right. He's going to use this spot, and it's very annoying when somebody gets in here and knows what they're doing. Right now, though, unfortunately, he's kind of behind a rock. So let's just take a look at the terrain real quick here. You can see that you've got a rock right here. We'll go ahead and zoom up. So you got a rock right there. He's in this bush, hard to see. That's kind of annoying, actually. I wish when you went to this mod, it would leave your marker up on the tank you're playing because you can barely see it in there. So right now, he's kind of behind that. So he's got to come around the corner here and take this shot. So he's backed, and now he goes forward. And I would do this as well. We'll just let it keep going. Shoot, go forward as if you think you're going to get spotted, but he didn't. So it's a very interesting position. It doesn't really look like the bushes. So it just really doesn't look like you are fully bushed, but there you are. Very interesting he's not getting spotted. He's going to get some free shots. Now the M4 figures it out. You're going to see some shots come through this bush. It's your only way to handle somebody doing this is to take some blind shots in this bush. There he goes. He just took one. And try to dissuade them from doing what he's doing. He's just going to farm a lamb a ding-dang. This poor Tiger 2. It's the M4 that seems to know what's going on. The Tiger 2 is sort of busy trying to fight these guys right in front of him. And he's taking a nice spot unless you got this really annoying little scout in here just absolutely shredding you from behind. And 240 Alpha is not bad for a scout. It's actually pretty good. You pay for it with a really long reload. But look at this. Quite nice sniperino back and forth. One of the reasons he can do this, he helped to get rid of the Bulldog. There's not a 432. We do have to watch for other mediums coming up and over and maybe lighting us. So I'm not saying this is the magic position of all, but you've got a really small tank with a fairly low silhouette, so he's nicely down in this little dip. There are no other tanks that are going to come up and over. Maybe the 274 and the Centurion, but they're busy over here for the moment. So you got to watch it on the mini-map, see what they're doing. If you notice them coming across, maybe think about it. If we count noses, though, we've got 3 dead and an arty, so that's 4. There's 2 in the south, 2 in the cap, that's 4 more, and maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or so sitting over with the heavies, maybe 11 or 12. That's just about all of their tanks. So if you do a quick count of the noses, you can be fairly confident, at least for the moment, nobody's going to come up here and start lighting you up. Obviously, the danger there. If you are the purple team and you're dealing with somebody doing this, it may be a good idea to click on this spot to let people know that somebody's there. And maybe somebody on your team sees it and potentially comes over. I'm not saying that's going to work. Well, I wouldn't even say a majority of the time, but potentially you could click there and say, hey, can someone, check that bush because they're kicking our rear from behind. This is the second time I thought that you spent a little more time maybe than you should have right here. If I zoom out and I look at this and I see where those two are, and then I can see that we've got a Scorpion and a RHM. Notice this rock right here pretty much guards you from their position. Unless they move over here to the right, they're probably not going to see you. You might have been able to use this bush. Come around here, get yourself a better angle right there. As long as they're shots, you don't really have to worry about it too much. Ooh, I think right there, that was that mistake I was talking about. And that's what it feels like, because it's like, all right, and you back, oh crap, and you go back forward, and you're hoping that you did not get shot. I'm very surprised you didn't get seen, to be quite honest. So the hitbox on these bushes is very interesting, and I hadn't noticed that myself. So that's part of that. Watch, he's going to take a shot in here pretty quick. He's going to take a nice little sniper shot in the back. And I think a shot went back in there. So we're just really using this bush. I'm going to have to put this one in my kit bag here. Going to be difficult to get into that guy's lower plate. Quite strong frontal armor. Has a little bit of a weak spot down below, and he's able to sneak one in right there. And then we have a 105-1000, so he wants a little bit of the business from Brynar, and he's going to oblige, giving that guy the business. There's another shot go in. See that? So that M4 took another one. This guy knows he's in trouble. He wants to back out of this and go hide in this little hole. I think we get lit right there, finally. Nope, yes, there we go. Alright, that's important, because the only guy who really seemed to realize Brynar was in there was the M4. Obviously, probably the Tiger knew that because he kept getting hit by him, but he wasn't doing anything about it. So there's only a couple guys that really knew. Only one guy was trying to do anything about it. Now, pretty much anyone who's paying attention to the mini map knows that the scout is using that spot. And really, for me, Brenner, now I'm really starting to think about getting over to this other bush on this side over here. So if we kind of fly over this away, just feels like if you kind of hung out right about here, very unlikely you're going to get lit by those two TDs. However, if they scooch over and find you, then that's going to hurt pretty badly. Note that this tank has very low ammo totals. Thank you, Mr. T56. That was very nice of you to give us that. Got spotted on that one as well. He's almost done with his regular ammo. Now, so when I was watching this the first time, that's when I finally noticed what was going on over here. But maybe Brynar was keeping an eye on that earlier than I was, so good on him if he was. But these two guys are sort of making a push, and they're kind of winning here-ish. But they're going to get shut down pretty quickly because there's a Ferdinand that nukes one of them. And then the Scorpion G from all the way over there nukes the other one, and that actually opens up the map considerably. So that those southern eyes for the bad dudes, the purples, are gone. There's two TDs in the back somewhere, probably close to where they were. Maybe they've moved around a little bit. And then the three heavies and an arty. And that's it. We know basically where everybody is, more or less. Brynar is then going to start to move around here. It looks like he's trying to push this way and see if he can get one more shot. For me, man, I just would go up and over and get right in that spot and take out the TNH, but he's going to take the more careful route. Come over here. Sort of, I mean, honestly, I think you should have known by now that you had to move forward pretty far to get that shot, but discretion is often the better part of valor, and you shut him down. So we got there. I thought that was exactly the right guy. Picking the right guy to shoot when you're doing the sniper with a tank like this is important. Look at this. As I've been talking, he's been very carefully playing, using that bush pretty expertly. Only a couple mistakes, really. Maybe could have moved to the other bush for some other shots earlier. 3,136, right? So not much to quibble about right there. I did not realize these bushes are here, guys. How long have these bushes been here? This is a great way to scooch forward. Now, it's a little difficult to get into these here because you do have to kind of come around the corner. So somebody maybe in this area could see you with some good vision. But I learned something here. And it looks like Brynar knows it. He's kind of just trying to sneak around as much as he can without getting spotted by guys in the south. Comes in here. All right, so yep, the two TDs are kind of in the same place. Looks like the Scorpions moved a little north. I think for my money, you push right out of that. As soon as you find out where those two TDs are, just leave that bush. Head down here and look for shots. Look at the Ferdinand. He's just waiting for somebody to give him a light. We'll come across here. We light the RHM. I think you noticed that maybe a little late right there. Is he even looking at us? He is not. Potentially hit 3, get the HE going. I don't know if you have intuition on this tank or not, but you might have been able to get a pretty good HE shot into this guy. Put one in anyway. Nice little shot on him right there. That's 3,355, folks. All right, this is an LHM TV, all tier 8. That's 3,355 damage. That's what you're expecting your heavies and maybe your mediums to do right there. And he dropped that with a light tank, which is a huge advantage for his team, because if your light tank player can do that much damage, that is really helping out the rest of your team right there. So we're coming up here looking for potentially a shot on the Scorpion or maybe the RHM, and then we find the artillery. Very nice. Auto aim him. This is a fun little engagement right here. Watch this. He comes in here and shoots him. Rams him. 55, 51, fires and misses. Then he does a pretty good job of kind of crunching up the light tank, but Brynar does a better job getting around, and even backwards this thing's pretty fast, especially if your artillery is also trying to go backwards. Nicely done right there. Goes up the hill and back down. I think if you'd have backed down that hill, you might have got that last shot on that Scorpion. Do we have one? Nope, looks like there's too much hill in the way. The elevation, by the way, on this tank is terrible. That can often be a little bit goofy trying to make that happen. And the Lurva gets the Scorpion. So, Brynar, nicely done. Thanks for sending that out. I learned a lot right there, actually. I knew that bush was there. I've used it a bit, but I liked how you managed it. And it's very important to know that, at least with the camo this thing had, it seems to be that, based on the hitbox of the bush, you were doing the 15-meter thing, i.e. can't be spotted idea. So that was very interesting to me that you were able to get that done. I think it was important that you backed in there because I believe if you'd have gone forward, then the front end of your tank would stick out. And I don't know how large a tank can do what he just did at that bush. You'd have to jump into a training room or something and take a look at that. But I have been hit from that position, so I'm aware of it being there. I've never really paid too close attention how people use it. So important and good. Very permissive. He got rid of the light tank, and there was nobody else popping over. That doesn't always happen right in that position. Oftentimes, you're going to have somebody over here on the north part of this hill peeking up and might catch you doing your thing down there. But that's not the case today, and he was able to absolutely shred people using it and just really punish the heavies who were trying to push in to his team. I also learned a bit about a way to push forward over here in this bush, so you can kind of take a look into the back sniper areas before you push down the hill and go after them. And nicely done there. And then, you know, every time a arty dies, an angel gets its wings. So we'll just kind of hallelujah right there. Good job. That's it, my friends. I hope you guys learned something. I know I did. Like I said, that's one of the reasons I like doing this, is I think I become a better player watching these replays and seeing other people do things that I don't particularly do, and try to add that stuff, or at least part of it, whatever works for my play style, into my kit bag. Hope you guys are doing the same. That's all I've got for today. We will see ya.